I love talking about finding an executive coach because I am one, and you have to get a specialization in it. It's not like I just walked up the street and started calling myself an executive coach. The process for becoming a coach, you may or may not know, to become the most basic level of coach with the International Coaching Federation, you need a program that does 60 hours of education plus 100 hours of actual client coaching experience. Then you have to sit for an exam. So if you're wanting somebody who's credentialed, you can ask them if they went through an ICF program or what their title is. My program wasn't 60 hours, it was 343 hours. I didn't realize the magnitude of how long the program was going to be when I first started it. I thought that was normal for a coaching program, but it most certainly was not, because then I had over 100 hours extra with coaching clients that I had to have before I sat for the exam. So the first thing is that. And why is it important to have an ICF certified coach? I'm totally biased in this regard because I did go through the program and it was so intensive for those 343 hours. And again, mine is way longer than the norm. But in the time that people study to become a coach, they learn how to ask the right questions, and they learn not to judge, and they learn to listen for things that the client is saying, so that then when you're in a coaching session, our job is to really acutely listen to you and be able to pull out the things that you say that you might not even realize that you're saying. That's not something that we do on a regular basis. It takes a skill set in order to learn how to do it. And so even though I had plenty of experience coaching teams as a supervisor, it's a different story when I'm coaching people as a coach. I've had friends even that I've coached, and they see me like flip the switch to turn on my coaching skills, which you're not going to see in a YouTube video, but they can't believe it. They're like, wow, I didn't know this was what coaching was, you know? And I think it's great. I think coaching, to me, it was something I totally needed as a professional, because there are certain things that you just don't want to talk about with your boss. If you're the CEO, you don't really have a boss other than the board of directors, and you're not going to be going and complaining to them about anything. And also, it's that accountability person to help you figure out how to get closer to whatever it is that you want. So even before deciding if you want an ICF certified coach or not, you can also figure out what it is exactly that you want to work on. That's going to be the first question the coach asks you, even in an introductory meeting, to say, what are the issues that you're trying to get better at, or what are the problem areas at your work, anything like that. Especially if they're executive, they're going to be really hyper-focused on work. Does that mean you can only talk about work in an executive coaching session? No. And let me tell you, a lot of life things come out because our life affects who we are at work. So it is totally normal to also have different scenarios from life come up in those sessions. Totally okay. Not a bad thing at all. So really, number one is figuring out exactly why you want to coach, what you're going to bring to them as your main issue, and then also figure out if you want somebody who's credentialed. Somebody who goes through an ICF program is going to ask you questions in the way that ICF trains us to do that. So we will start by saying, all right, what do you want to be coached on today? We'll dive into that topic, and we'll end with a bunch of action steps that you come up with that you're going to take. The session is all about you. It's not about what the coach thinks that we should talk about for that day. It's about what you're bringing to the table. The coach will take whatever information that you're giving them and run with it. So maybe you said something and you didn't really want to focus on it, but that's the information that the coach will use to then figure out how to direct where the session is going. You can always interrupt and say, I don't want to do this, or this isn't what I wanted to talk about. That's fine. But a good coach will actually use your own words and then lead you forward to get you closer to what it is that you want. For me, I think that my coach did just that. Like, it was important for me to have somebody who was credentialed. And so every time when I sat in a session with him, it's not like I knew what the formula was going to be that he was going to kind of ask me questions about, because every session was completely different. But at least there was a structure to the meeting that I had with him, and it was easy because then I could just basically jump right in. I knew what to expect, and it was a good use of my time. So a coach also, on that same vein, will be asking you questions. They will not be giving you advice. They will not be giving you answers or even suggestions on what to do. A coach really should just be listening to you and helping you create whatever action steps you want to create for the end of your session. So I think, you can have a meeting with a coach. Typically, most coaches offer complimentary they offer complimentary meetings with them before your first session, just to see if you like the vibe of that coach and to see if you have like a good rapport with each other from the start. That I would definitely recommend doing from the get-go, so that you can see if there's some good energetic connection between the two of you there. It's like you have to shop around sometimes. So maybe you have a meeting with an introductory meeting with a first coach and you really like them, but you just want to kind of cross your T's and dot your I's. That's totally okay. That's happened to me before, where people will say, this was a great meeting, but I want to look around. Then they come back to me. But in general, I think it's a good practice, just like you were to get different contractors to look at a problem in your house. You might get 3 bids from somebody before you decide who you want to go with. It happens all the time in coaching, so it's not abnormal for you to do that. Ultimately, you should feel comfortable enough to be able to explain and disclose information to them, but uncomfortable enough that the coach is actually pushing you outside of your comfort zone to be able to get closer to your goals. You might not like every session. You might not like the things that the coach does in that session, and that's also okay. It's not, you have to look at kind of the overarching, how have the sessions been overall, rather than, oh, this session made me feel really uncomfortable, in order to kind of continue with that coaching practice. So that's happened to me before with therapy, especially, that I was in a session with my therapist and I didn't like the session at all. That's okay. That's what coaching, therapy, it doesn't really matter which one of those it is, but it's okay to feel uncomfortable. And it's actually a good thing if you feel uncomfortable in coaching, because it means that you are questioning your own beliefs and the way that you've been acting. So I think really a good coach is going to make you feel outside of your comfort zone just a little bit. Not every session, and not so much so that you're freaking out after every time you talk to the person. That's not what I mean. But I would definitely look for somebody who you feel like you have a good kind of back and forth with, and that you feel comfortable talking about what it is that you want to work on. As long as you have those ingredients, and as long as you're willing to change, then I'm sure you're going to have great success with what coach you decide to go with. And remember, you can always switch coaches if it's not the right coach for you. So all that said, if you want to have a meeting with me, I'm happy to do that. We can set up a free 30-minute call and just do just that. See what you think about our connection and see if it's something that you might want to move forward with. The only way that you're going to know that is to actually talk with me one-on-one. So recommend it if you are interested. I'm here.